What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and welcome to the third episode of Pro Team Comps Explained. Today's comp is the Kite comp, which is also known as Protect the AD Carry. This composition has the most powerful late game of any composition, and is designed to kite opponents very easily to make a teamfight last as long as possible due to the heavy sustained DPS of your AD Carry. It focuses on having a strong midline with little to no frontline, because your entire focus is on protecting your AD Carry through the incredible mechanic of kiting. This comp is incredibly solid at killing tanks, and is actually my most favorite composition so far, because the comp is focused on the bot lane, and since I'm a support player, it's fairly easy for me to carry games while playing this composition. This composition is also extremely hard to outplay once the AD carry gains some power, so that makes it very hard to play against if you aren't making any mistakes. And my favorite thing about this composition is that it can actually be played with an array of champions, which leads me into the picks and bans. The Kite comp is definitely more of a playstyle than it is an actual composition, because you can take any pool of champions and just peel for your AD carry, and then it pretty much becomes a Kite comp. So I won't spend too much time going over the actual picks, but for your top and mid laner, as well as your jungler and support, you just want to pick someone with any form of crowd control that can peel pretty easily and create a strong midline presence. And it's also very solid if they're good at doing damage to tanks. These picks will be very solid at protecting your AD carry and creating the desirable, unpassable midline wall. I personally like Jace, Ryze, Nautilus, and Lulu in this composition, but remember that they can really be anything because this composition is more of a playstyle anyways. Now onto the AD carry. This is the only pick that actually matters, of course, and you want to have an AD carry that is phenomenal late game, that can dish out tons of sustained DPS. Note that trying to have an AD carry with an escape is pretty much negligible in this comp because your entire team will be trying to protect them. So as long as you have good positioning and huge auto attack damage, they should be just fine. I like Vayne, Kog'Maw, and Twitch for my top 3 choices for this composition, due to their massive sustained DPS that this composition revolves around. For the bans, you want to ban 3 champions that you can't really peel from your AD carry or can catch them out really easily. Zed and Malphite are great bans unless you're playing them, while your last ban can be for something like Hecarim, Jarvan, or Vi, who are also really difficult to peel. You generally just want to make it as easy as possible for your team to protect your AD carry with your bans. Now, let's get into how to play this comp. During the laning phase, it's extremely important that you play very safe. When this composition loses the laning phase, it's extremely difficult to come back because protecting the AD carry will either be extremely hard or your AD carry will just be too weak to do anything. I highly recommend 2v1s in this comp, or at the very least having your jungler camping the bot lane so that you can avoid losing it. If the other lanes lose while bot lane wins, it's actually totally fine. It can be pretty easy for the bot lane to carry. But if all of the lanes are even just a little bit behind, this comp becomes very difficult to execute. So you want to play fairly safe and calculated during the laning phase. But of course, don't be afraid to get kills as long as you can do your calculations, as this comp is extremely easy to win with if you manage to win the laning phase. During the team fights, you want to have your team set up a very strong midline that crowd controls anyone who tries to pass. You will often have your whole team focusing the tanks in order to protect your AD carry, and that's why it's important not to fall behind during the laning phase. If you are the AD carry player, remember to have solid positioning, as if you get caught out, the entire team will fall apart. So make sure to set up solid positioning and then kite your opponents. Kiting is an incredibly strong mechanic, so be sure to use it to the fullest potential by having your entire team peel for your AD carry, either by crowd controlling the ones that go for them or zoning out other opponents. For countering the Kite comp, you want to play a composition that is focused on winning the laning phase. The initial reaction might be to play a dive comp, but that's not really the case. Kiting is a much more powerful mechanic compared to diving. Heck, kiting is why the support role exists. And when you play a dive comp against a Kite comp, the initiations can be avoided by a simple flash from the AD carry, and then they set up a really easy kite onto you. Or you can just easily be counterpicked by a Janus support. However, there is the exception of champions like Zed and Malphite who are unkiteable and are amazing at killing AD carries. So those are actually really great counterpicks of the Kite comp, but only if they win their lane. If you pick a dive comp and you win your lane against the Kite comp, it actually works out really well. So just make sure that you win your lanes if you're going to pick that. It is crucial to win the laning phase against the Kite comp, so picking an aggressive jungler like Zac or Jarvan, and very aggressive laners like Draven, Kennen, and Ahri can work out really well if you can control the map efficiently and make ganks happen. Speaking of ganks, it's a very good idea for your jungler to get an early oracles to make those ganks happen, as well as coordinating 4-man ganks with your mid laner down at bot lane will work extremely well. If you can win the laning phase, the Kite comp has a fairly difficult time of coming back while behind, so it should be fairly easy to close it out. But be careful, because the Kite comp can also turn the slightest advantage from their AD carry into an undefeatable lead. So if they win the laning phase, you should try for a pick and avoid team fights altogether, and make sure that you're initiating on the AD carry, so you can try to burst him down if possible. Overall, the kite comp focuses on protecting the AD carry and prolonging fights through the mechanic of kiting, so that the extreme power of the champion that is the AD carry will have enough time and freedom to melt everyone down while they are being protected by their team. So that's it for this episode of Pro Team Comps Explained. I'd love it if you could support me with a like or some feedback in the comments, and if you have any questions, you can join me on the North American chat room, Gaming Curios, which I am always in when I go online. Please subscribe for more awesome content in the future if you enjoyed this video, and I would love it if you could follow me on Facebook or Twitter, of which I will have links in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.